So you have a real estate agent, you have a realtor, you have a broker realtor, an associated broker. Who are all these people and what do they do? It's the Real Estate Show. Welcome to the Real Estate Show. My name is Rick Naples. I'm the owner-broker of Zone Realty LLC. You zone your home. As I said at the beginning of the show, there's a lot of different people that are involved in real estate. But what do these titles all mean? Well, the titles of the person that you'd be using to help sell your home or buy a home tells you what they've been titled with or licensed with and how far their education has gone in the real estate market. So in other words, you can be dealing with a real estate agent. A real estate agent is a person who is licensed in our state to do real estate transactions, but they're not necessarily following a higher code. In other words, they don't belong to any local real estate associations or boards, and they may not have access to some of the tools that a realtor would have. Now, what's a realtor? A realtor is an individual who is a real estate agent, who is licensed to practice real estate, to represent buyers and sellers, but also belongs to the National Association of Realtors and has made a pledge to follow the strict code of ethics in the way they conduct their business. A realtor also may have access to the multiple listing service. This is a service up and beyond those websites that are out there that have properties for sale that allows them to communicate with other realtors that belong to the MLS system to tell them about your home for sale, or for buyers to be able to reach out through their realtors and find homes that they may wish to purchase. Now, what if you're dealing with someone who calls themselves a real estate broker? Who's a broker? Well, a broker is an individual that has taken additional education levels and now has the ability to open up an agency and hire and work with realtors or real estate agents within their agency. They're the runner of the company. They're the owner. I introduced myself at the beginning of the show as the broker owner of Zone Realty. That is my company. That is the company that I operate under. Now, what if somebody has on their business card they're an associate broker? What's the difference between an associate broker and the broker? Well, usually when an agency opens up, there may be agents that work with that brokership, realtors that work under that brokership, or other brokers. In other words, agents, realtors who have continued their education and become brokers, but for one reason or another have chosen not to open their own businesses. They work under a head broker as an associate broker. They do not have the ability to run the company or make decisions. That's up for the head broker to do. But they're still, under their licensing agreement, a broker. In other words, they've taken those additional schoolings to become a broker. Now, you may ask, okay, so who's going to do the best job for me? Who's going to accomplish getting my home sold or helping me find a home or a rent or whatever it might be? The real estate agent or the realtor or the broker or the associate broker? Who's going to help me? Well, they're all going to help you. They've all been trained in the ins and outs of the real estate transaction. It's just a matter of what position along the scale that they're at as far as the educational levels are. Sometimes, you'll go looking for a realtor and you'll find there's a bunch of initials after their name. And these initials basically signify what kind of accreditations they've achieved. Maybe they're specialists in residential sales, or they're specialists in loss mitigation negotiation, or they're specialists in working with just sellers on listing homes, or they're specialists across the board. Maybe they have initials that mean they've been trained in working with foreclosures, or working with rentals, or working with seniors, or whatever it might be. These are all different educational levels. Now, can somebody with a bunch of certificates and a bunch of designations do better than someone who has very little or none? That's going to be up to you when you're interviewing the agents. Sometimes schooling, as we've learned throughout the years, is not necessarily going to help accomplish the goal. Sometimes it's just the individual and their talent. Sometimes it's how they have their connections as a real estate agent or realtor with the brokership and what the brokership has available. So don't decide on who you're going to work with just based on their title, but do be aware that, like with any other industry or any other type of trade, there are a number of different levels as far as who the individual is that you're going to work with. Now that brings about the whole question of, why would you want to work with a realtor to begin with? Why not just do it on your own? I mean, the internet is full of websites that have tons and tons of houses for sale. You can go on these different sites, get all the details of the information you want, find out about the house sizes, where it's located. You can do searches, get all this information. Why would you want to work with a real estate agent, a realtor, a broker, associate, a broker, or any of these people? Well, knowledge is power. These people are professionals. These are folks that do this for their living. They understand the ins and outs of the market, and they've navigated different situations throughout the market. I'm not saying you can't do everything yourself. You possibly could, but do you have the time? Do you have the ability to navigate through all this? Because the real estate transaction can get to be quite tedious, just like applying for a mortgage. There's a number of steps, as I've said many times on the real estate show, that you have to go through. So sometimes it's great to have that advocate, that guide, to help you through the process. Making it real simple, you're going to go on a tour someplace. You can walk through yourself and say, "Oh, look at this, look at that, look at this." But it's a lot more fun going with the tour guide who can actually explain what you're looking at, and explain what you're seeing, and kind of guide you through the tour till you get to the end. Well, that's basically what your realtor or the broker or the broker associate is going to do. They're going to guide you through the whole transaction. And this could be simple things, from just where to begin your search when you're looking for a home, who to talk to in order to get a mortgage, recommendations on other individuals to get involved in the real estate transaction, like connections to attorneys, home inspectors, things along those sorts. Again, anything in this world, there's a lot that's available on the internet. You can learn to do a lot of things yourself. But when it comes to purchasing or selling a home, that's a rather large asset. And you want to make sure that you surround yourself with knowledgeable people that are going to be able to get you from point A to point B and help you do the transaction with little or no stress and hopefully no problems. When you're dealing with a real estate agency, you're usually dealing with a group of licensed individuals that do business in real estate. Now, you're going to have one realtor, most likely, that is going to contract with you. They're going to be the person you're hiring. And they may be attached to a real estate agency. There's a lot of agencies that are out there. They have the ability to help you through the process, but they also have the backup of the agency that they're with. You might get an agent that is relatively new to the real estate industry, just got licensed or hasn't really been out there that much or hasn't closed a lot of deals. that doesn't necessarily mean they cannot do the job, because they're going to have the ability to work with the other agents within their office or agency, and especially with their broker. The broker of the agency is the one who oversees all of the agents that are in the business. They're the ones that have gone that extra step, as I said, and gotten that additional education. But they're also the business administrator. They're running the business, so they understand the ins and outs of the basic real estate transaction, what the realtor is responsible to you about doing, what you're responsible to them about doing, but also running the day-to-day business of the agency itself and what the agency has to offer. So as you're going through the real estate transaction, you're going to have a lot of people that are involved in getting you from that point A to that point B. You're going to have a lot of people that along the different stages will get involved in helping you accomplish the goal of getting that house sold, or perhaps purchasing that home and getting it closed. I mean, that's the whole deal here. Whether you're working with a real estate agent, or you're working with a professional realtor, or you're working with the broker directly, or one of the associate brokers of the agency, the goal is to get your house sold, or if you're buying, to purchase the house and get to the closing so you now own it. Everybody is on the same page. They all want to accomplish the same goal. Do you need a realtor? Well, I'm prejudiced, obviously. I'm going to say yes, you do. Can you do it on your own? Well, maybe you can. Do you want to do it on your own? Probably not. See, one of the challenges that you have when you're looking to sell your home or buy your home is time. There may be time that you don't have to dedicate to do that. It takes a lot of work. You know, there's marketing that's involved. There's showing the house. There's talking to buyers. There's talking to, if you are a buyer, the mortgage officers, the home inspectors, lining up with an attorney, all those different things. So unless you're an individual that has a lot of time to do those, you probably have to still work. You probably still have to go to your job every day. You probably still have family responsibilities if that's the case. You may not have the time to dedicate to be able to do the things that you want to do in order to accomplish that goal. And this is why you hire another individual, or you hire the realtor. I want to just take a pause here and talk a little bit about showings. I've mentioned many times on the real estate show on how showings work. Showings are visitations. This is when you as a seller has put your house on the market, you're working with your realtor or with the broker agency, and you have opened your house up for buyers to come and take a look. Now, these are pre-scheduled appointments, but there is preparation that you need to do in order to prepare your home to be shown. Your realtor, again, one of the things that they're going to share with you is how to get your house ready to show to a buyer. What things should you do? Should you have lights on, lights off, doors open, doors closed, things off the countertops? Do you have to be cognitive of smells? Do you have to be cognitive of where your furniture is placed? What about things on the walls? What about personal items? What about collectibles? Things along those lines. What do you need to do? When are those people going to come? How much notification do you have? Do they just come knock on your door and say, hey, we want to look at your house? What do you do if someone knocks on your door that's not represented by a realtor? Do you let them in? Do you show them the house? What about open houses? How is an open house done? Is the realtor there? Are you stuck there? What time of day do the showings happen? Do they happen in the evening? Do they happen during the day? Do they happen on the weekends? Will they happen on holidays? What if I have somebody over and I don't want a showing to happen? What if it's one of my children's birthdays and we have a birthday party going on? Do we want someone coming over to look at the house during that? This is where it becomes very advantageous to be able to work with a realtor to help you navigate through all that. I mean, life will get in the way. When you're a buyer, you want to have a realtor that can help coordinate you looking at homes. You have a busy schedule. When can you go out and look at houses? When you go to look at a house, where do you meet? How do you get in? What do you look for when you go into the house? If you want to make an offer, how do you make the offer? Who do you make the offer to? What's involved in the offer? Getting together your mortgage, getting together, once you have an offer that's accepted, having the home inspection done. Do you need to be at the home inspection? Should the realtor be at the home inspection? What happens at the home inspection? What if issues come up? What do you do? Who do you talk to? How do you solve them? Negotiation. How do you negotiate? What do you negotiate on? Just a ton of stuff. Because this is a major purchase. This is something that you don't do every day. You may not do it a lot of times in your lifetime. I've known people that have bought a house and have lived in that house literally all their lives. I know other people that have bought several houses throughout the term of their life. A person like me, well, in my case, I've owned 6 or 7 houses in my lifetime. My parents owned 14 different houses in their lifetime. It all depends on what your life situation is. But it is something that you don't do every day. It is something that you do need guidance in order to get through from plan A all the way through to the end. All of the individuals that you may hire are going to help you navigate the real estate transaction. They become your partner. They become the person that you're going to go to ask questions or get instructions on how to do certain things as the transaction's going along. And it's very important that you have this tour guide or this guide to get you through that transaction. Because anywhere along the way, you could find that you get sidetracked. There could be some things that come up that might be a little bit of a challenge. As I just said earlier, sometimes life gets in the way. Sometimes there's just coordination of time that gets in the way. Or there could be events that kind of sidetrack the path that you're following to home ownership. It's great to have that confident, that person you can talk to. Now, here's where I kind of give the pitch of the difference between the real estate agent, the licensed individual who can do real estate transactions, and the realtor, and the importance of the code of ethics that the National Association of Realtors has set for someone who carries the realtor name. That individual has made a pledge to follow a strict code of ethics in the way that they treat you, in the way that they conduct their business, in the way that they do the paperwork, and in the standards that they follow in the real estate transaction from point A to point B. You may have heard the word fiduciary. That basically means that that individual hired by you, whether they're representing you to buy a house or helping you sell a house, has responsibilities to you, not to them, not to their agency, not to the other side, whether the other side's the buyer or seller. Their fiduciary responsibility is to you, the client, once you've signed that agreement between the two individuals. Now, of course, that agreement, if it's signed with the realtor, is actually contained or owned by the real estate agency, the broker, because the broker is responsible for everything, but you're going to be dealing with that realtor. And that realtor has the responsibility to follow that code. They also have their guidance of their broker on how to conduct their business. In other words, they're responsible to you, but they're also responsible to themselves in the way that they conduct themselves. Usually you find when you're dealing with a realtor that they're all of the time very straightforward and very honest. Here's what's going to happen, here's the scenario, here's what we could do. They don't necessarily want to give you all kinds of bad news preparing you for things unless those things start to happen, but they will have you prepared so that you can move through the transaction and be able to handle anything that may come along. What kind of things can come along? Well, you can have situations where the unexpected shows its head. I've had situations in my career where people were going right along and following all the different steps and getting ready to close on a house, and then something unexpected happened. that kind of sidetrack the whole deal. I've had people in the process of purchasing a home where everything's great and wonderful, and they get their approval, and they've got the offer accepted, and they're marching towards the closing. They've done their inspections, and the appraisals come in, and everything's great, and then they get laid off from work. Now what happens? I've had sellers at the last minute have something happen where they've changed their mind. What do you do in that case where the seller won't sell the house now? This is why it's so important to have the realtor or the broker or that individual that's been hired to help guide you through the transaction. Because when those unforeseen things come up, you're going to need expertise in order how to navigate through those things. So as I said at the beginning of the show, you got the real estate agent, you have the realtor, you have a broker or a broker owner or a broker realtor, and then you have the associate broker. You also have another individual, and those are real estate associates. Now you have to be careful about a real estate associate. Sometimes the associates are not licensed individuals. They're just individuals that kind of work within the agency as administrators. Maybe they're transaction manager people, and they work behind the scenes putting files together. They might assist the agent or the realtor in certain things, maybe researching something at the town hall or something along those lines. But the associates, most likely, if they're not licensed, they can't take you out and show you houses. You see, you have to have a real estate license in order to go out and show somebody a house, unless you're the seller and you're showing the house yourself. You have to have a real estate license in order to do the real estate transaction. You've got to know what that paperwork is and what paperwork's required. I mean, how many of us fill out property disclosures and inclusion reports and lead disclosures and mold disclosures and know what radon tests are and all that kind of stuff if we don't do it every day? The realtors out there every day in the market, they understand their market, they understand the paperwork, they understand the real estate transaction. But they also are skilled in getting to know you and what your needs are and what you want to accomplish. And they're going to be straightforward and honest with you, as I said. Sometimes our expectations when it comes to a real estate transaction might be a little demanding. Maybe you want this, you want this, you want that, but it's not necessarily what you need. When buying a house or selling a house, you have to keep the open mind that it's a give and take situation. You're negotiating. You're constantly negotiating. From the time you decide to put your home on the market or from the time you decide to get into the market to buy a home, you're constantly negotiating. You're trying to make things come together where everybody is on the same page, as the saying goes. Everybody is in agreement. The bank, the appraisers, the home inspectors, the attorneys, the buyer, the seller, the realtors on either side, their brokers, and anybody else that's involved, all are on the same page so that you can go to the closing, sign the paperwork, get the keys, transfer ownership if you're a seller, and take ownership if you're the buyer, giving ownership if you're a seller, so that everyone's happy. The real estate transaction is quite a lot to navigate. There's a lot that's involved. So my best advice to everyone out there watching the real estate show is interview realtors, talk to real estate agents, maybe even go to a couple of real estate agencies and sit down and talk to people. Prepare, prepare, prepare. This is going to be a big decision for you, whether you're selling or whether you're buying. And you want to make sure you have a clear understanding of how this is going to work and how you're going to move forward. My name is Rick Naples, and this has been the Real Estate Show. I hope all this information has been helpful, and I'll see you next time.
Sometimes life just happens. Don't worry. Farmington Motorsports will get you back on the road and at a fair price. From towing to tires, emissions to transmissions.
Our ASC certified techs do it all.
Farmington Motorsports is a family-run business. We're a Napa Auto Center and AAA approved. We work on all makes and models from preventative maintenance to major repairs.
And every repair is backed by our 2-year, 24,000-mile nationwide warranty.
When life happens to you, don't worry. Farmington Motorsports.
I'm your host, Kurt Barwis. Today, I have a very special guest, Dr. Andrew Lynn.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Veterans Corner. My name's Chuck Wooden.
Decision for ourselves for this week if we want to be made well.
Hi, welcome to the crack of dawn. It's Dawn Lombardi. I'm starting the painting. It's going to be the clips with some water. Love it.
He took me on the sets of Lost in Space, Batman.
Everybody has a story. What's yours? Until next time,